These nuts. Got him! Got him!
Yo, what's up guys, it's Dr. Large, and today I'm discussing an important question, and that is Adamancipator really worth investing in? Now in this discussion we'll be covering these 5 key points: the skill ceiling, how easy it is to learn, is it free to play, how consistent is it, and can I get it into Plat 1? This discussion assumes that you have a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge, and you have mastered already, and that you also have liked the video and remembered to subscribe. So skill ceilings are the limit or lack thereof on how good you can be at any given game with enough practice. The best way to think about this is it's the ratio between your skill level and the ability to deck. When the pilot is highly skilled, the deck will perform even more. Personally, from my experience with Adamancipator, I would say it's a moderate ceiling. It's around a 7 to 8 out of 10. It's not a completely brain dead deck, but it doesn't require a quantum supercomputer to figure out how to play it. So, to compare, I've posed it against Eldritch, one of the other best decks of this format. You can see in both deck lists, and you know, I'm sure you can understand that Eldritch is just a trap deck, which is the antithesis to Adamancipator, playing only one non-monster in his lineup, at least in my personal list. Now, Eldritch is a very low ceiling deck, seen by its repetitive plays, its limited decisions, and almost identical imports. Adamancipator has many different parts, a lot of decisions to be made, and a lot of different boards it can end on. This is the best way to compare skill ceilings of decks, in my opinion, and it's not hard to see that here. Adamancipator realistically has a very high ceiling, and it's not hard for it to top Eldritch in this department. So to summarize, Adamancipator has a high ceiling, which makes it difficult to learn from scratch, but it's incredibly powerful in the right hands. And the deck is best suited for high-end play, and you know, at low ladder it's going to feel unnecessarily strong. I would definitely recommend it for people who have some experience with combo decks, but if you're new to Yu-Gi-Oh, probably be a bit more apprehensive with this. It's not going to be necessarily for you straight away. So on the left here you can see the list that I've been using, and there's a lot that you could definitely change, most notably the Shell Knight. I've been meaning to take it out, I'm just very lazy. Now one great thing about Adamancipator is that the core of the deck's pretty much the same. There's always 3 of every Adamancipator, most of the same rock monsters, and that makes it quite easy to learn. You can put a lot of different engines in there to change it up to how you personally want to play. It's great for people who want to min-max their deck to perfection, but for a new player, some things might be a little bit difficult to grasp. My best advice is just take a list online. You can take mine, you can go take some other big YouTuber's name, and just play with it a little bit. If you don't like certain engines, change them out, learn what other engines do, and see how that actually advances how you play the deck. Because it's all about how you enjoy it and what you find works. Now I have a card by card breakdown of this list, and it's linked in the description. It'll be at the end of the video, and it should be right now in an icard at the very top right of your screen. Now, an issue you might find with the deck is managing to actually find the space on your board. There are times where you might genuinely have too many monsters and not enough extra deck to use them all. Usually there's ways around this, but they can be a bit convoluted and they make you sacrifice resources that could have otherwise been put to bigger boards. Usually, your boards are going to look about the same though. If you're going to the absolute peak, usually you're going to end up with maybe a Borrowed Savage, an Appaloosa, a Union Carrier to equip your Dragon Buster, etc. It's going to look pretty similar with some variation. But you always have this puzzle to try and reach those same resources. It's always a game of, well, how can I manage this to make that? All the while having to determine, is this really the best thing that's going to help me against my opponent? This is where the pilot really becomes one of the more important parts of the deck. The deck itself is not going to win you, you have to be able to pilot it. So overall, I'd say it's pretty medium difficulty. It's far from the most complex combo deck of all time, but again, it's far from very simple. If this seems like too much for you, that's fine. Personally, I'd recommend any of these 6 decks. If you enjoy some slow-paced control decks, I'd recommend Zodiac, Eldritch, or True Draco. But for those who still want to play some combo, but maybe just not as complex as this, I'd recommend Madolche, Burning Mist, or Prank Kids, honestly. And yes, Rafa, BA is that brain dead. So as you can see, I've taken apart the contents of this same deck list, and I've listed that it's majoritively ultra super rares, which isn't great for free to play. However, I personally would still say it is. Super rares really aren't that difficult to obtain, and most of your ultra rares are cards you'd be using again anyway. And when it comes to crafting, it's really not that bad to get all of these cards out. So for the ability of the deck, it's valued amazingly, compared to a lot of decks where they have incredibly high prices for nowhere near the same amount. Now, there's a lot of things that you could take out for something that's a bit cheaper. Maybe your Borrowed Savage you don't want to pay for, your Dragite, your Naturia Beast. Maybe you want to just put something in that does the same, well, you can summon it the same way, but it's not quite as powerful. That's fine, it's up to your discretion, but ultimately it is going to perform worse. This, in my opinion, is the optimal list. Do with it as you will. That is entirely up to you. This deck is very manageable for a lot of people, and for as much as a lot of cards aren't really reusable, I would still say that this is probably a pretty free-to-play deck for most people. Now here I have to give some credit to Yu-Gi-Oh! Party for the calculator that you can see on screen. So I've calculated that you have about a 91% chance to open anywhere between 1 and 4 cards that give you access to your Adamancipators. I've left there 1 to 4 because once you get to 1 to 5, the percentage change is minimal, and even then, having 5 of these cards is unnecessary. You're not going to use all of them. When you see 4 of them, that could be like a Researcher, a Seeker, an Analyzer, and a Block Dragon, you're going to use all of those. But you're not going to end up using Researcher, Seeker, Analyzer, 2 Block Dragon, right? You're never going to end up using it. So if you can see any of your Adamancipators, Doki Doki, or Block Dragon, you can start a combo. Obviously, it's not going to win you the game on its own. You're going to have to be a little bit lucky with your hand on that. And there are some assumptions made, like if you see Doki Doki, you have another level 4 rock in hand. If you see Block Dragon, you've got another monster to put it in the graveyard for a link summon. Now I'd say these are pretty fair assumptions. Doki Doki, you play a lot of level 4 rocks to accompany your Researchers, your Seekers. And Block Dragon is probably the biggest assumption of those, but personally I never found that to be too out of the way. All of this to say that this deck is very consistent. And even if you hit that 9% where you brick, you've got Max C in 3 of those cards. You can win the turn, you can win the game anyway just by dropping Max C, because your opponent doesn't do anything. You get a card back and you draw for turn and you're gonna fix your hand. It's perfect. This deck is incredibly consistent, and I would be very surprised if this doesn't get you to play off of this. Yes, it's the best deck. So to conclude with all of this, I would definitely recommend the deck. For as complex as it might be, and as fragile as it can be sometimes from interruptions, I'd say it's definitely worth the investment. Obviously, we have no clue what's going to be happening with the ban list on Monster. And by all means, it could be banned tomorrow. We could end up with a TCG ban list. Who knows? But without having to account for that future speculation, I genuinely believe this deck is worth your investment. So get yourself a Master Duel, craft yourself a Researcher, go pull these packs, and get this deck built up ASAP. So thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, please do like and subscribe. For a small channel like myself, it goes a long way. And if you think others might enjoy this video, please do share it around. It lets me know that this is the way you want me to go with content. On the screen right now, you should see a link to my card-by-card explanation of the Adamancipator list used in this video, and whatever YouTube has recommended you from my catalog. Hope you have a great day, and remember to stay frosty, my games.